Going on, guys and girls? I hope you're all doing well. We're back here with Genesis 2 on our second day of chapter a day Bible study. And just like yesterday, we're going to be reading through the chapter and then looking at some points of emphasis and then seeing how we can apply it to our lives. So let's get through the reading here and then we'll move on to the other parts of this segment. So, Genesis 2, the creation of man and women. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their host. By the seventh day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made earth and heaven. Now no shrub of the field was yet in the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted, for the Lord God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to cultivate the ground. But a mist used to rise up from the earth, and water the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. The Lord God planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he placed the man whom he had formed. Out of the ground the Lord God caused to grow every tree that is pleasing to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 rivers. The name of the first is Pishon. It follows around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. The bdellium and the onyx stone are there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It flows around the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris. It follows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. Then the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and keep it. The Lord God commanded the man, saying, From any tree of the garden you may eat freely, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat from it, you will surely die. Then the Lord God said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called a living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the cattle and to the birds of the sky and to every beast of the field, but for Adam there was not found a helper suitable for him. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that place. The Lord God fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man, and brought her to the man. The man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, and were not ashamed. All right, so we just looked at the Genesis 2 in the Bible. Now let's look at some points of emphasis. So the first point of emphasis that we have is that God sanctifies the seventh day. God stopped working after 6 days and made the seventh day holy. And we as Christians are still supposed to observe that seventh day as holy. There's different religions do it different ways. Ever since I was a little kid, I was never allowed to play baseball on Sundays. I would actually have tournaments that were Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'd have to come home on Saturday while all the other kids played the last game on Sunday. Sorry, I'd have to come home on Saturday while all the other kids played on Sunday. And so sometimes that would frustrate me. But now that I'm past that and I don't have to deal with that anymore, it doesn't bother me. I actually really I'm thankful for my parents making that decision, because looking back on it, I think that was definitely the right decision. There's, this Sunday is supposed to be a special and holy day, and going to church is special enough, but you can do other things. My parents also encouraged me not to do school, get all my school done throughout the week and on Saturday if I needed it, but to not work on Sunday. Now, I sort of gotten away from that habit. I do some school on Sunday, but I make an effort not to. So that's what it's about. You're supposed to rest on the seventh day. You're supposed to relax, clear your mind and focus on God and glorifying God. So let's move on to our second point. God forms man from the dust of the earth. So this passage talks about Adam and Adam's beginnings. How I always imagined it in my mind was like a dust cloud sort of whirling around in the wind, and then out came Adam, sort of. And I don't know how you guys picture it, but that's just how I always pictured it. So if you want to let me know down in the comments, that would be funny. But I don't know. That's just how I always pictured it. I saw a movie where it pictured it like out of mud. It was kind of weird. It was like a mud pool, and he just like kind of rose out of the mud. I don't know. That's never how I pictured it. But let's move on to the third point. God sends mist so plants can grow. So previously, before he sent the mist, no rain had come, so there was no trees, there was no shrubs. It was just kind of barren, I guess. I don't know. I can't really speak in absolutes here, but this isn't like a main point. I guess it's just he sent mist, he sent some rain, and so that shrubs could sprout and prosper. So the fourth point, God puts Adam in Eden so he can cultivate the ground. Now, I'm not sure if you guys picked up on this when I was reading the passage, but it sort of seemed like Adam wasn't in Eden when he was made. That's just kind of how I always pictured it, like God put him in Eden, sort of like led him to Eden, or somehow Adam knew to go to Eden. I don't really know what was going on there, but you can look back in the passage and see what I mean. So the next point, God tells Adam to eat from every tree except the tree of good and evil. Now, if you know more about the Bible, you're going to know that obviously Eve is fooled by the serpent, takes the fruit, eats it, says it's good, gives it to Adam. Adam eats it as well, and they both sinned and they're cast out of Eden. So this is like almost foreshadowing. It's like you can do anything you want in this garden. You can name animals. You can run free. You can whatever you want to do, but you cannot eat from this tree. You can eat anywhere else, but you cannot eat from this tree. So, I mean, just right there, you almost know something's going to happen. The next point, God makes a woman. So this is very important. The woman comes out of the man, and that's why it's called a woman. He takes a rib and forms a woman out of it, and God does that. And this is where you get your like male dominance in a relationship, husband wife. This is where you get all that. I mean, that says it numerous times in the Bible that wives be submissive to your husbands, because woman was second, and the male has all. That's why you have male pastors, you have male elders. It's just like they're supposed to be the head of the household, the head of the church, the head of the country. And I'm not trying to put down women in any way by saying this. I'm just saying this is how God meant it to be, and that's just a fact. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. So the next point, Adam and Eve become one. Adam wakes up, I guess, and sees Eve, and he says, she's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and so forth. Even though they didn't really have like a marriage, or at least it doesn't say so in the Bible, it's kind of obvious. I mean, there's one guy in the world and there's one woman in the world. They're going to become husband and wife, so they become one, and that's what that means. They marry pretty much, even though there's not like an official ceremony. So let's move on to the next slide here. So the life application that we can pick up from this chapter is to keep the Sabbath day holy, just as God did in the first week. He kept the seventh day holy. We should follow in his footsteps, follow in his paths. And this is a pretty well-known fact about Christianity. You want to make it special. Something that's important to note is there's a lot of different degrees in this between religions. Even in the same religions, you'll have people that say, I'm not going to watch football on Sundays. I'm not going to play baseball. I'm not going to do anything but just read my Bible and pray and reflect on my past week, and then you have people that don't really observe it in any special way other than maybe going to church. So you have a lot of different variations going on. It's pretty much, you should do what you feel is right. You should pray about it, ask God what you think is right for you, and if you have a guilty conscience about something that you don't think you're making a special enough day for God, then you should definitely seek to change your ways on Sundays. So the second point for life application would be women submissive to men. Now, this doesn't mean like you're walking down the street and like men are better or anything. This is pretty much talking about in the context of marriage, but also in the context of the church and in groups even. The men are supposed to be the leaders. They're supposed to be the leaders. And if you have a woman pastor, it's kind of, I would not go to a church with a woman pastor, because the men are supposed to be the leaders. And if you have a woman pastor, it's kind of almost it's degrading to the men, and it's kind of embarrassing for men, because like, why is there not a man stepping up to do this job? It's the men that are supposed to be doing the grunt work, and it's the men that are supposed to be leading the family, leading the church, leading whatever kind of groups you're in. But this is not to say that women can't have leadership positions. I'm just saying, in politics, the president, we've never had a woman president, and I for one hope it stays that way. I think men should be leading this country, not because they're smarter, because they're better in any way, but God clearly defines in the Bible that men are supposed to be the leaders, and I just think that's the best way to do it. God's way is always the best way to do it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll have another one tomorrow, Genesis 3, and I hope you're looking forward to that. And once again, thank you all for watching.